The automatic doors of Children's Hospital burst open as I run through them, my work scrubs still on, my purse abandoned somewhere in my car. The fluorescent lights blur past me as I sprint down the endless corridor, following the signs to the pediatric burn unit. My sneakers squeak against the polished floor with each desperate step. "Mrs. Radford, slow down!" A security guard calls after me, but I can't stop, not when my baby needs me. The nurse at the burn unit desk sees me coming and stands immediately. She's young, maybe 25, with kind brown eyes that tell me she's about to deliver news that will shatter my world. "Grace Radford," I gasp out, gripping the counter. "My daughter Melody. Someone called about my daughter." "Mrs. Radford, I'm Jenny. Dr. Navarro is with Melody now. She's stable, but she has sustained significant burns to both hands, third-degree burns covering most of her palms." Third degree. The worst kind. The kind that destroys nerve endings, that requires skin grafts, that leaves permanent scars. My legs threaten to buckle. How did this happen? Was there an accident at school? At the playground? Jenny glances at another nurse, and that look makes my stomach drop. "The injuries appear to be intentional, Mrs. Radford. Your daughter was brought in by her stepmother about an hour ago. The police have been notified." Darlene, my ex-husband Trevor's new wife. The woman who smiles too bright and laughs too loud and makes my skin crawl every time she picks up my daughter for their court-mandated weekends. Where is she? Where's my baby? Room 314. She's sedated right now for the pain, but you can see her. I push through the door to find my 8-year-old daughter looking impossibly small in the hospital bed. White gauze wraps both her hands like oversized mittens. Monitors beep steadily, tracking her heart rate, her oxygen, her pain levels. Her face is puffy from crying, tear tracks still visible on her cheeks. "Oh, Melody." I sink into the chair beside her bed, carefully taking her bandaged hand in mine. Her eyes flutter open at my voice. Those beautiful hazel eyes, just like mine, now clouded with pain medication and something else. Fear. Raw, absolute fear. "Mama!" Her voice cracks. Barely a whisper. "I'm here, sweet pea. Mama's here. You're safe now." "My hands hurt so bad, Mama." "I know, baby. The doctors are giving you medicine. It'll get better, I promise." She starts crying then. Not the dramatic tears of a child who's skinned their knee, but the broken sobs of someone who's been deeply betrayed by someone who was supposed to protect them. "Mama, I need to tell you something. Something bad happened." I lean closer, smoothing her dark hair back from her forehead. "You can tell me anything, Melody. Whatever happened, it's not your fault." Darlene said it was my fault, said I'm a thief and thieves get punished. My blood turns to ice. What did Darlene do, baby? She held my hands on the stove, Mama. The fire was on and she held them there. She counted to 7 while I screamed. She said thieves get burned so everyone knows what they are. The room spins. I grip the bed rail to keep from lunging out the door to find Darlene and tear her apart with my bare hands. "Why did she call you a thief, Melody?" I took 2 pieces of bread from the counter. I was so hungry, Mama. She didn't give me breakfast again, and Trevor had already left for work. She said I had to earn my food by doing all my chores first, but I was so hungry my stomach hurt. I just wanted some bread. "She's been starving you?" Melody nods, fresh tears falling. "She says I eat too much, that I'm getting fat like you." The heart monitor beeps faster as my pulse races. My beautiful, perfectly healthy daughter, being starved and insulted and now tortured by a woman my ex-husband chose over his own child's safety. She said if I told anyone, no one would believe me because kids lie all the time. She said Trevor would choose her because new wives are more important than old daughters. "Listen to me, Melody Grace Radford." I cup her face gently in my hands. "I believe you, every word, and I promise you that woman will never, ever touch you again. Do you hear me? Nobody burns my baby. Nobody." She nods, collapsing against me as much as the bandages and IV lines allow. Outside the room, I hear Detective Drummond's voice in the hallway, already beginning the investigation that will put Darlene exactly where she belongs. 3 months before that horrible day, I stood in Judge Harrison's courtroom watching my entire world get reorganized by someone who'd never met my daughter. The wood-paneled walls felt like they were closing in as he read his decision in that monotone voice judges must practice in law school. Joint custody is awarded, with the child spending alternating weekends with Mr. Radford and his new spouse. The court finds that a two-parent household provides stability and structure that benefits the minor child. Trevor sat across the aisle looking victorious, his arm around Darlene's shoulders. She wore a conservative blue dress that made her look like a Sunday school teacher, nothing like the crop-top-wearing woman who'd been posting selfies at nightclubs just weeks before. Amazing what a good lawyer can orchestrate. Your Honor, I have concerns about Ms. Hutchins having unsupervised access to my daughter, I'd said, standing despite my lawyer's hand on my arm. Your concerns are noted but unsubstantiated, Mrs. Radford. Ms. Hutchins has provided excellent character references and has completed a parenting preparation course. A weekend course. She took a weekend course and now got to play mommy to my daughter every other Friday through Sunday. The first exchange happened in my driveway 2 weeks later. Melody clutched her pink butterfly suitcase, the one her grandmother Judith had bought her for sleepovers at Grandma's house. Not for this. Never for this. You're going to have so much fun with Daddy and Darlene, I said, kneeling to zip her jacket. Why can't I just stay with you, Mama? Because the judge says you need to spend time with Daddy too, but I'll be right here when you come back Sunday night. Darlene stepped out of Trevor's truck, those acrylic nails clicking against her phone. Come on, Melody, we're going to have such a good time. I've planned all sorts of activities. The way she said it, like she was auditioning for a reality show about perfect stepmoms, made my skin crawl. But what choice did I have? The court order was clear. That first weekend, Melody came home quiet but unharmed. When I asked how it went, she just shrugged. Darlene made me call her mom. I told her you're my mom, and she said I could have two moms. You don't have to call her that if you don't want to, baby. She gets mad when I don't. Red flag number 1. I documented it in the notebook my sister Bethany had given me. Write everything down, she'd insisted. Every weird comment, every strange behavior. By the 4th weekend, Melody was coming home different. She'd head straight to the kitchen and eat whatever I put in front of her like she hadn't seen food in days. One Sunday, she ate 3 peanut butter sandwiches in a row. Slow down, sweet pea. You'll get a tummy ache. I'm just really hungry, Mama. Didn't you eat dinner at Daddy's? Darlene says I eat too much. She gives me a small plate and says that's all I get. I called Trevor that night. His voice was dismissive, already influenced by whatever poison Darlene had been feeding him. She's being dramatic, Grace. Darlene's just teaching her portion control. Kids need boundaries. She's 8 years old, Trevor. She's growing. She needs to eat. Don't tell me how to parent in my own house. You're just jealous because I've moved on. Moved on, as if our 13-year marriage and beautiful daughter were just something to get past. Mrs. Pemberton, Melody's 3rd-grade teacher, called me 3 weeks ago. Grace, I'm concerned about Melody. She's falling asleep in class on Mondays, and she seems anxious after weekends. We met in her cheerful classroom with its reading corner and multiplication charts. Mrs. Pemberton, a woman in her 50s who'd taught for 30 years, didn't mince words. In my experience, sudden changes in behavior like this indicate something's wrong at home. Is everything okay? She spends weekends with her father and stepmother. She comes back exhausted and hungry. Mrs. Pemberton made notes in her file. I'll document what I'm seeing. Sometimes the court needs educational professionals to weigh in on custody arrangements that aren't working. Thank you. I feel like no one believes me because I'm the bitter ex-wife. I believe you. I've seen Melody since kindergarten. This isn't the same happy child. My mother Judith had started coming over every Sunday when Melody returned, bringing her famous lasagna and homemade cookies. That child needs feeding up, she'd say, watching Melody devour her 3rd helping. Mom, I think something worse is happening over there. Then you fight, Grace, you fight like hell. That's your baby. Looking back now, all the warning signs were there, bright as neon lights. The hunger, the exhaustion, the fear in her eyes when Friday afternoon came around. But I never imagined, never could have conceived that Darlene was capable of actual torture. I thought we were dealing with neglect and emotional abuse. I was preparing for a custody modification battle. I wasn't preparing for a call from the burn unit. Tuesday started like any other day at the dental office. I was finishing up with Mr. Jacobson, a retired mailman who came in every 6 months like clockwork, when everything changed. The clock on the wall read 2:47 p.m. I remember because I kept checking it, thinking about picking up Melody from after-school care at 5:30. "Your teeth look great, Mr. Jacobson. Keep flossing like you've been doing." "Thanks, Grace. See you in 6 months." That's when Paula, our receptionist, burst through the door. Her face was white as paper, her hands shaking as she clutched the cordless phone. "Grace, you need to take this call. Now, it's Children's Hospital." The dental tools clattered from my hands onto the metal tray. "What happened? Is it Melody?" "They just said emergency. They need you there immediately." I ripped off my gloves and grabbed the phone. The voice on the other end was professional but urgent. "Mrs. Radford, this is Nurse Davidson at Children's Hospital. Your daughter Melody has been admitted with severe burns. You need to come right away." "Burns? How? Where is she?" "Pediatric burn unit, 4th floor. The doctor will explain when you arrive." I don't remember driving to the hospital. One moment I was in the parking lot of the dental office, the next I was running through those automatic doors. 20 minutes of my life completely erased by panic. My sister Bethany called twice. I didn't answer. Nothing mattered except getting to Melody. The burn unit smelled like antiseptic and something else, something that made my stomach turn. Burned flesh. I'd know that smell anywhere, after my brother Samuel had his accident at the construction site years ago. Dr. Navarro met me in the hallway. He was younger than I expected, maybe 35, with serious dark eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Mrs. Radford, I'm Dr. Navarro. I've been treating Melody since she arrived." "What happened to my daughter?" "She has 2nd and 3rd degree burns on both palms. The pattern and depth indicate prolonged contact with a heating element, likely a stove burner." "Pattern? What do you mean, pattern?" He showed me photos on his tablet, and I had to grip the wall to keep standing. My baby's hands were destroyed. The skin was white in some places, angry red in others, blistered and raw. "These aren't accidental burns, Mrs. Radford. When children accidentally touch something hot, they pull away immediately. These burns show sustained contact. Someone held her hands there." "Darlene. Her stepmother brought her in?" "Yes. She claimed Melody was trying to cook and accidentally pressed her hands on the stove, but the burns tell a different story." "Can I see her?" "She's sedated but stable. We've already contacted the police and Child Protective Services. This is a mandatory reporting situation." He led me to room 314, where my whole world lay in a hospital bed. When Melody woke and told me what happened, every word was like a knife to my heart. "She turned on the stove and watched it get hot," Melody whispered, her voice hoarse from screaming. "She said in her country, thieves get marked so everyone knows what they are. She grabbed both my wrists and pushed my hands down." "Did you try to pull away?" "I tried so hard, Mama, but she's stronger than me." She counted out loud. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, all the way to 7. Then she let go, and I fell on the floor. My hands felt like they were still on fire even after she let go. What did she do then? She got ice and put my hands in it. Then she put cream on them and wrapped them in towels. She said we were going to the hospital and I better tell them it was an accident or Trevor would send me away forever. My phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. "Where are you? Darlene said there was an accident. On my way to hospital." An accident. That's what they were calling torturing our child. Detective Shirley Drummond arrived while I was still processing everything. She was in her 50s with short gray hair and the kind of presence that said she'd seen too much, but still cared anyway. "Mrs. Radford, I'm Detective Drummond with the Crimes Against Children Unit. I need to ask Melody some questions, but you can stay right here with her." She already told me everything. I know this is hard, but I need to hear it from her. We're building a case and her statement is crucial. Melody repeated her story, adding details that made me want to vomit. How Darlene had been withholding food all weekend. How she'd made Melody clean the entire house Saturday while she watched TV. How taking that bread was the first thing she'd eaten since Friday dinner. "She's been documenting concerns," I told the detective, pulling out my phone to show her the notes I'd been keeping. The hunger, the exhaustion, the fear. Detective Drummond studied my documentation carefully. This is helpful. We're going to check their house immediately. Do they have security cameras? Yes, Trevor installed them everywhere after a break-in last year, even in the kitchen. Good. That could be the evidence we need to make sure Darlene never hurts another child again. Detective Drummond closed her notebook and looked at me with those steady gray eyes. Mrs. Radford, we're heading to your ex-husband's house now to secure the security footage. You don't need to come with us. I'm going. The words came out before I could think them through. I need to see his face when he watches what that monster did to our daughter. This could get emotionally volatile. It might be better if you stayed here with Melody. Right then, my mother Judith burst through the door, her face flushed from running. She took one look at Melody's bandaged hands and pressed her hand to her mouth. Dear God, that woman actually did this? That evil woman hurt my grandbaby? Mom, stay with Melody. I need to go with the detective. Grace, no. Let the police handle this. You don't need to see that woman. I need to see Trevor's face when he realizes who he chose over his daughter. I need him to look me in the eye and try to defend this. My mother understood. She'd been there through the divorce, through the custody battle, through every weekend I cried after dropping Melody off. She pulled me into a fierce hug. You give them hell, Grace. You make sure they pay for this. Detective Drummond made a call while we walked to her unmarked sedan. We need a unit at 4782 Maple Grove Drive. Potential evidence destruction risk. Suspect is Darlene Hutchins, 28, brunette, approximately 5'6". You think she'll try to destroy the cameras? People do desperate things when they're cornered, Mrs. Radford. The drive to Trevor's house took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of me replaying every sign I'd missed, every warning I'd ignored. Should I have fought harder in court? Should I have hired a private investigator? Should I have refused to hand Melody over that first weekend? Stop torturing yourself, Detective Drummond said quietly. I see that look. You're going through everything you could have done differently. This isn't your fault. You documented concerns. You called your ex. You talked to the teacher. You did everything right. But my baby still got hurt. Because someone else chose to hurt her, not because you failed to protect her. Trevor's house sat in a suburban development where all the houses looked identical, except for the color of their shutters. His were green. Darlene's white Mercedes sat in the driveway next to Trevor's pickup truck. The lawn was perfectly manicured, the image of American suburban success. You'd never know a child had been tortured in that kitchen just hours ago. Officer Benson was already there, his patrol car blocking the driveway. Detective, they're both inside. The woman seems calm. The husband seems confused. We walked through the front door without knocking. Trevor stood in the living room, still in his warehouse supervisor uniform, his face cycling through confusion and anger. Grace, what are you doing here? Where's Melody? She's in the hospital burn unit with third-degree burns on both hands, Trevor. Your wife held our daughter's hands on a hot stove for 7 seconds. That's insane. Darlene said it was an accident. Melody was trying to cook and touched the burner. Darlene sat on their cream leather couch, legs crossed, examining her nails like we were interrupting her afternoon soap operas. She wore expensive yoga clothes that probably cost more than I made in a day. The child is clumsy and she's lying to get attention. She's always been jealous of me. She's 8 years old, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. She's a child you were supposed to protect. I don't have to listen to this. Darlene stood up, reaching for her designer purse. I'm going to call my lawyer. Sit down, Miss Hutchins, Detective Drummond commanded. We're not done here. Mr. Radford, we need immediate access to your security system. Security system? Why? Because your kitchen camera recorded everything. It's going to show us exactly what happened at 11:43 this morning. Trevor's face went pale. He looked at Darlene, and for the first time, I saw doubt creep into his eyes. Darlene, you said she touched it herself. She did. The cameras will prove I'm innocent. But her voice wavered. Just a little. Just enough. Detective Drummond pulled out her tablet. Mr. Radford, I need your login credentials. Now. Trevor's hands shook as he pulled out his phone. I have the app here. The password is Melody's birthday, 0817. Of course it was. He'd used our daughter's birthday as his password while letting his wife torture her. "The kitchen camera is in the corner above the refrigerator," Trevor said, his voice getting smaller. "It captures the whole room, including the stove." Detective Drummond navigated to the archived footage from this morning. "Everyone gather around. Let's see what really happened." Darlene suddenly lunged for her purse. "I need to go. I have an appointment." Officer Benson stepped in front of the door, his hand resting on his radio. "Ma'am, you need to stay here." "This is false imprisonment. Trevor, tell them." But Trevor was staring at the tablet screen, his face crumbling as the timestamp showed 11:42 a.m., 1 minute before his daughter's hands were destroyed, 1 minute before his choice in women became an irreversible nightmare. The tablet screen lit up with crystal-clear footage from Trevor's kitchen camera. The timestamp read 11:43:22 a.m. "We watched my daughter walk into the kitchen, her small frame barely reaching the counter. She stood on her tiptoes to reach 2 slices of bread sitting near the toaster. Just bread. Not candy, not cookies, not anything a child might sneak. Plain white bread because she was hungry." Darlene appeared in frame at 11:43:47, moving fast, her face twisted with rage. The audio clicked on, every word perfectly clear through Trevor's expensive security system. "You little thief, stealing food in my house." Melody's voice was small but audible. "I'm hungry, Darlene. You didn't give me breakfast. My stomach hurts." "Liars and thieves don't deserve food. You want to steal from me? You know what happens to thieves where I come from?" Detective Drummond leaned forward, her trained eyes catching every detail. "She's dragging her to the stove." We watched Darlene turn the knob on the gas stove. The blue flames jumped to life, clearly visible in the high-definition footage. Melody tried to pull back, but Darlene's manicured hands wrapped around those tiny wrists like vices. "Please, Darlene, I'm sorry. I won't take food again." Too late for sorry. Thieves get burned so everyone knows what they are. Then came the worst part. Darlene forced Melody's palms down onto the burner. The scream that came through the tablet speaker made Trevor drop to his knees. It was primal, pure agony, the sound no parent should ever hear from their child. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Darlene's voice was calm, almost cheerful as she counted. 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi. 7 seconds. She held my baby's hands on that flame for 7 full seconds while Melody screamed and begged and tried to pull away. When Darlene finally released her, Melody collapsed to the floor, holding her destroyed hands to her chest, sobbing. "Stop being so dramatic," Darlene said on the recording. "It's just a little burn. Get up." The footage showed Darlene walking calmly to the freezer, filling a bowl with ice. She grabbed Melody's wrists again, forcing her burned hands into the ice water. Melody screamed again at the temperature shock. "We're going to the hospital, and you're going to tell them you touched the stove yourself. If you tell them anything else, your daddy will send you away forever. He loves me more than you. New wives always win over old daughters." Trevor vomited into his hands. Actually vomited right there in his living room while we watched his wife torture our daughter. Officer Benson handed him a trash can. "That's enough evidence," Detective Drummond said, saving the footage to multiple locations. "Darlene Hutchins, you're under arrest for felony child abuse, assault of a minor, and torture." Darlene jumped up, heading for the back door. "This is fake. She edited it. That's not what happened." Officer Benson was faster. He caught her arm as she reached for the door handle. "Ma'am, stop resisting." "Trevor, tell them I would never hurt her." But Trevor was still on his knees, crying into the trash can. 7 seconds. You held her there for 7 seconds. I can count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How could you? She's a baby. She's my baby. She's a brat who needs discipline. You're too soft on her. She was hungry, I screamed, unable to hold back anymore. She took bread because she was hungry. You've been starving her for weeks. Detective Drummond placed the handcuffs on Darlene's wrists, the metal clicking with beautiful finality. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." "This is a mistake. Trevor, call my lawyer. Call him now." Trevor looked up at her with dead eyes. "I'm calling a divorce lawyer, and then I'm calling the prosecutor to testify against you." You're nothing without me. You were a pathetic divorced dad before I made you better." "I was a father," Trevor said quietly, "and you made me fail at the one job that actually mattered." As Officer Benson led Darlene out, she kept screaming, "She's lying! Kids lie all the time. No one will believe her." "The camera doesn't lie," Detective Drummond said, "and neither do third-degree burns that match the pattern of stove burners exactly." I stood there watching my ex-husband sob on his expensive carpet in his perfect suburban house. "You chose her, Trevor. I begged you to listen. Melody tried to tell you she was hungry. Her teacher called you, and you chose her." "I know, God, Grace, I know. I failed her. I failed our baby." "Yes, you did." Detective Drummond touched my shoulder gently. "We have everything we need. She's looking at 5 to 10 years minimum, possibly more with the torture enhancement. She'll never hurt another child again." Through the window, I watched them put Darlene in the patrol car. Her perfect makeup was smeared, her yoga outfit wrinkled, her false persona finally shattered. The neighbors were starting to gather on their lawns, wondering what had happened in the house with the green shutters. "I need to get back to the hospital," I said. "My daughter needs me." "I'll drive you," Detective Drummond offered. "Mr. Radford, you'll need to come to the station to give a formal statement." Trevor nodded, still kneeling on his floor. "Tell Melody I'm sorry. Tell her Daddy is so sorry." I walked out without answering. His apologies were 7 seconds too late. 6 weeks have passed since that nightmare Tuesday, and I'm watching Melody work with her physical therapist, Dr. Chen, to stretch her healing fingers. The angry red burns have faded to pink, and the skin grafts have taken well. She winces as she tries to make a fist, but she doesn't cry anymore. My brave girl has cried enough tears for a lifetime. "Excellent progress, Melody," Dr. Chen says warmly. "Your flexibility is improving every session." "Will I be able to write normally again for 4th grade?" "Absolutely. You're healing beautifully." The legal proceedings moved faster than anyone expected. Darlene's lawyer tried to argue for a plea deal, but the prosecutor, armed with that crystal-clear video, wouldn't budge. She pled guilty to avoid trial, which meant Melody wouldn't have to testify. The judge sentenced her to 8 years in state prison with no possibility of early parole. "Your daughter won't have to see her again," Detective Drummond told me after the sentencing. "She'll be deported after serving her time since she was here on a marriage visa." Trevor lost all custody rights and faced his own criminal charges for child neglect and endangerment. He pled guilty and got 2 years probation with mandatory parenting classes and therapy. He sends letters every week, but they sit unopened in a drawer in my bedroom. Melody knows they exist, and when she's ready, if she's ever ready, she can read them. "Do you think Daddy knew?" Melody asked me last week during dinner. "I think he chose not to see what was right in front of him, baby, and that's just as bad." My family has wrapped around us like a protective shield. My mother, Judith, comes over 3 nights a week with enough food to feed an army. "Nobody's going hungry in this house ever again," she declares, loading our freezer with labeled containers. My brother Samuel installed a new security system, not because we need it, but because it helps Melody feel safe. "Anyone tries to hurt my niece again, they'll have to go through me first," he said, his construction worker hands gentle, as he showed Melody how the panic button worked. My sister Bethany helped me find a therapist who specializes in childhood trauma. Dr. Winters has been incredible, helping Melody process not just the burning, but the weeks of starvation and psychological abuse that preceded it. "Children blame themselves," Dr. Winters explained during a parent session. "They think if they'd been better, quieter, less hungry, it wouldn't have happened. Our job is to help her understand that adults are responsible for their own actions." Mrs. Pemberton visited last week, bringing a card signed by Melody's entire class and a basket of books. "I've been teaching for 30 years, she said, tears in her eyes. "I should have pushed harder when I suspected something was wrong." "You documented your concerns. That helped build the case against her. Still, I'll never ignore my instincts again. When a child changes that dramatically, something's wrong. The physical scars are healing well, but I know the emotional ones will take longer. Melody still hoards snacks in her room sometimes, hiding granola bars under her pillow. I don't stop her. Dr. Winters says it's her way of ensuring she'll never be hungry again." Last Sunday, we were at Bethany's house for dinner. Melody was playing with her cousins, and I heard her laugh, really laugh, for the first time since the hospital. She was using her scarred hands to build a block tower with her cousin Emma, not hiding them anymore. "She's getting stronger," Bethany observed, standing beside me. "We both are." The thing about trauma is that it changes you fundamentally. We're not the same family we were before this happened. We're more cautious, but also more grateful. Every normal day feels like a gift. Every meal we share, every bedtime story, every morning I wake up knowing my daughter is safe in her room means everything. Detective Drummond called yesterday with news. Darlene's in general population now. The other inmates found out what she did. Let's just say she's not having an easy time. I felt no satisfaction from that news, just emptiness. Her suffering doesn't undo Melody's scars. As I tuck Melody in tonight, she holds up her hands, examining the scars in the nightlight's glow. "Mom, Jenny at school asked about my hands. I told her the truth. Was that okay?" "You never have to hide what happened to you, sweet pea. You survived something terrible, and that makes you incredibly brave. Dr. Winters says my scars tell a story of survival." "Dr. Winters is absolutely right." She snuggles into her pillow, Mr. Bunny tucked under her arm. "Mom, I know Darlene is in jail, but sometimes I still have scary dreams." "That's normal, baby. But remember, I'm right down the hall, and you're safe. Nobody will ever hurt you again. That's a promise I'll keep forever. I love you, Mama." "I love you too, sweet pea. More than all the stars in the sky." As I close her door, leaving it cracked just how she likes it, I think about all the parents who might be missing signs, who might be sending their children into dangerous situations. Trust your instincts, document everything, and believe your children when they tell you something's wrong, even if it's just about being hungry. Sometimes the smallest complaints hide the biggest dangers. Nobody should have to count 7 seconds while their child screams. Nobody should have to watch security footage of their baby being tortured. But if sharing our story helps one parent recognize the signs, helps one child speak up, helps one judge reconsider a custody arrangement that feels wrong, then maybe some good can come from our nightmare. My daughter is the strongest 8-year-old I know. Her hands are scarred, but they still create, still play, still hold mine when we cross the street. Darlene tried to mark her as a thief, but all she did was mark her as a survivor. And that's exactly what we are, survivors. If this story touched you or reminded you to trust your instincts about your children's safety, please share this video with other parents who need to hear it. Leave a comment about your thoughts, your own experiences, or just words of support for all the Melodies out there who need someone to believe them. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful, real stories that matter. Together, we can protect our children and ensure that nobody's baby ever gets burned again.